So, I've done a bit of polishing on the shaft and inside the ring. Maybe came out a hair looser than I wanted, but it spins, well, let's see if I can hold it decent. It spins quite freely now. So that's good. So to hold it in place, I need to make a couple of what I call retainer rings. There'll be one on the front to keep it from sliding forward, and one in the back. And my pattern's right here for those two rings. I'm going to make it out of this thin piece of stainless steel. So once the retainer ring's on there, you can slide the engine on. It spins fairly freely. Now I need to make the back ring. The retaining clip for the front came out pretty good. The one in the back, I kind of just drilled a hole through and then cut it out with the scissors, and my pattern slid, so it ended up being a little smaller than I originally planned, which is fine, because it was probably too big anyway. But, you know, seems to spin freely, keep everything lined up. I'm working on the end pieces now that go on the end of the main portion that rotates. These will actually nest inside of other tubes, so before I glue them in place, once again I'll just use some JB Quick Weld on that. Once I glue them in place, they're going to be a lot harder to modify. So before gluing them in place, I spent a little time with grinding off the edge on the tip, then sanding with some very, I forget what it is, like 1200 grit sandpaper, just to make sure everything nests very smoothly. So this will nest inside of this to make the piston cylinder kind of thing. It's actually going to be a tube. The reason the outer ones are the ones that on the rotating piece are going to be nested inside is because it'll be a lot easier to take these off and clean the inside of them and clean the outside of these that way if I have to. My glue's all set up now on there real good. I may have to go around and scrape this back a hair, just because I didn't leave much of a tolerance, a space at the top of my travel when this goes all the way up. There's not a lot of room there. Things are moving along. I have the ends glued on now. Now it's a matter of building the end caps for these guys. Let's see. I have them all adjusted, so I got to make sure I put them on the right way. For that, the end caps I'm going to just cut 3 circles. I have 4 here, just in case I mess one up. And they'll have these attachments for the connecting rods, and they'll be cut out of brass. Now that we have the caps on, we need a way to attach them to the crankshaft. For that, I'm going to compound scroll some ends that are going to attach on. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense here, but basically it'll go like that. Before I compound scroll it, I'm going to drill a hole through for my for a pin that's going to go through to hold everything together to the connecting rods that don't exist yet. And then I'm going to scroll it out. Now that I have them all attached, I need to move on to making my connecting rods, which basically are going to be made out of this flat brass strip. My plan So basically I'm going to drill them out, cut them out, and I'll be done. Because they're going to be kind of layered in the middle on the crankshaft, I may end up having to make some spacers in here because they're each going to be in a different position. But I'm going to try it without that first, hoping that maybe just where they're layered on here doesn't bind too much when it runs. Here we have the finished connecting rods. One side's bigger than the other, so we have the music wire that's going to pin it to the piston, and this will go in the end of that. If you notice, I've made an extra piece on quite a few of the steps, and that's just so I picked the best 3 of the 4 that I made. Like for instance, this turned out horrible. So, and for the most part, these guys turned out. This one's a little close to the side on one end, but I think they'd all work. Before we assemble it, the holes, since they're drilled the exact size, sometimes they're going to be tight, sometimes they're going to be loose. So you want to just adjust the hole as needed for the various connections. No, it's not too bad. You want them all to slide freely, though you'd like them not to be too loose, otherwise they're going to be noisy when it runs. So right off we have an issue. Well, it looks like I may get away with not having a spacer on here. I'm going to definitely need a spacer to help that clear the screw, especially if I hold it like this, then I can't run it. I've run into my second issue here. This piston does not have enough clearance, so I either have a choice of maybe grinding off the bottom of the piston a little, or the tube, or trying to scrape more of the glue back. My first run attempt, it blew apart right here. Doesn't seem to want to run at all, so I'm going to have to look at how things are structured. I think what's happening is the angle that it hits with these shorter rods and these long tubes puts too much lateral stress, side to side stress, and it kind of just popped it off. Well, I was pretty distraught when my engine didn't work and when it blew apart. So I've kind of tore it back apart, made sure everything spun freely and was loose. I also kind of reassessed where things were and moved the crankshaft off by 30 degrees. Just kind of looking at where things lined up, because I think that should give it a little more leverage. It appears, however, though my design is fundamentally flawed, but we're going to give her another try. Just not much mechanical advantage, not enough pistons. You know, the Pentabello engine works great, and it uses a very similar system. It uses an identical drive system, but let's just give her a try with my new arrangement. See, there's just nothing that happens. It just pinches real tight and doesn't do anything. It'll blow apart again, I think. We'll try the other side. It just doesn't do anything. I think it's coming apart again. So, this engine is a failure. Complete and utter failure. But I guess we always have the Pentabello here. Thanks for watching. Sorry my video is a bit of a disappointment, but I guess that happens once in a while.